Okay. The topic of discussion we have chosen to inform you about is the conscription during the 1960s in Australia for the Vietnam War.
The definition of conscription is compulsory enlistment for state movement, typically in the armed forces.
Australia's National Service Scheme was introduced by the Menzies government in 1964. People believed that this scheme was the reason that they had to fight, even though that this was wrong.
During the early years of the war, when Australia's contributions were low, the regular army had to fight, which the public didn't really care about. However, when conscription was implemented and the national servicemen had to be included, the public began to notice and were not happy about this, as it was because they were taking their own family and friends. The next topic I'll be talking about is the birthday ballot, what it entailed and how it affected the men. The National Service Scheme meant that men aged 20 and older had to register with the Department of Labour and National Service, more commonly known as the DNLS. They were then subject to a birthday ballot, which meant that if their birthday was called, they would have to complete 2 years full-time in the regular army and 3 years part-time in the reserve army. Full-time national servicemen were liable for working overseas, which meant they had to work in the Japan Combat War. Numbered marbles were drawn from a barrel. These numbers represented birth dates. A month after the nominees were drawn, they were told by the DLNS that they were required to participate in the war. If these men failed to register, they were then called up to service to complete the normal amount of time, as well as getting a severe fine.
Men who were exempted for service were obliged to be as fit as those who were already fighting in the regular army. These men had to undergo medical examination that was completed by a civilian doctor, which decided whether or not you were fit to fight without any safety hazards. If these men passed the first requirement, they then had to complete the interview and a security check, which was completed by the Attorney General's Department, Australian Secret Intelligence Organisation, and Commonwealth Police, which, if you ask me, is a lot of steps for people they need. If these tasks were completed efficiently and to the government standards, these men were sent out to service. However, if these men misled and made false statements to the medical board, they were liable for their own prosecution. If these men were convicted of their lies and wrongful actions, they were sent to prison to complete the same amount of time that they would have completed in the army. 155,381 men served in the army. Out of them men, 200 of them died during action.
The next topic we'll be talking about is the organisation Save Our Sons, more commonly known as SOS, as well as what it represents and what it meant to the men and their families at this time. In 1965, the SOS was established in Sydney. This led to other organisations spreading across Australia. Members consisted of middle-class and middle-aged women whose sons were old enough to be subjected to national services. Protests included members handing out leaflets at railway stations and army barracks, where the national servicemen were travelling to start their military training. On some rare occasions, protest activities resulted in the SOS members being arrested. In 1971, 5 women were arrested for handing out anti-conscription leaflets to men who were registering at this time.
Many members of the SOS also got involved in political activities for the first time. They most often came from liberal voting suburbs, and for many who joined the SOS, the experience gave them confidence and the ability to publicly express their views. The women movement of the 1970s benefit from this.
This concludes our discussion on the Vietnam War. We hope that this vlog was informative and helped expand your knowledge on the 1960s Vietnam War and how it affected Australia's public